The objective of this video is to simplify fractions to solve problems easily. What is a fraction in simplest form? A fraction is in simplest form when the top, that is our numerator, and the bottom, that is our denominator, cannot be divided by any common factor. Another term that we use is lowest term. Let's try some examples. Is 2/8 a fraction in simplest form? How do we know if a fraction is in simplest form? Well, remember that we need to find a common factor between 2 and 8. If we have a common factor that is not 1, that means that we can divide both numerator and denominator and make it in simplest form. So let's list the common factors between these two numbers. So 2 only has two factors, 1 and 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 8, well, we already know that 1 and 8, remember that these factors come in pairs. So 1 and 8 are factors of 8. 1 times 8 equals 8. And how do we know if it has other factors? Well, 8 is an even number, so for sure it's divisible by 2. 2 times 4, so 4 will be another factor. 2 times 4 is 8, so 4 is also considered a factor. Can you think of another factor? Well, 5 is not a factor, 6 is not a factor, 7 is not a factor, and then we have 8, that we already have 8 here. So, now that we have our list of factors, we are going to circle the ones that they have in common. So, for example, 1 is a common factor in all numbers. But don't use 1, because if you use 1, you will get the same answer. If you simplify this fraction by 1, you are not making it smaller. You are not making it in simplest form. So let's try another common factor, that is 2. 2 is a common factor. That means that we can divide both numerator and denominator by 2, and we will get this fraction in lowest terms. So I am going to divide both by that common factor. 2 divided by 2, that will be 1. 8 divided by 2, that will be 4. 1/4 is 2/8 in simplest form. Remember that these two fractions are equivalent. What about 15 and 21? How do we know if this fraction is in simplest form? Well, again, we need to find common factors. So I'm going to do factors of 15. So 1 and 15, remember that 1 and itself, that will be some factors of the number. Because I'm making a list, I'm writing 1 at the front and 15 at the end. What about 2? Is 2 a factor? Well, 15 is not an even number. So 15 is not divisible by 2. If you want to check my video, Rules of Divisibility, to help you find these factors, I'm going to leave the description here. So 2 is not a factor. 3 is a factor of 15. Remembering that rule of divisibility, 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 is a multiple of 3. So 3 times 5, that will be 15, so that will be a factor. What about 4? 15 is not a multiple of 4. The next one will be 5, and we already have 5, so we're done. So the multiples are 1, 3, 5, and 15. 1, 3, 5, and 15. Multiples of 21. Factors of 21. So 1 and 21 for sure. 21 is not even, so 2 is not a factor. 3 is a factor. 3 times 7, that will be 21. 4 is not a multiple of 21. 5 is not. 6 is not either. And 7, we already have 7 here, so we're done with our list. So 1, 3, 7, and 21. Okay, now that we have our list of factors, remember that 1 is not a useful factor, so the next common factor will be 3. So that means that we can divide both numbers by 3, and we will get a fraction that is equivalent but in simplest form. So 15 divided by 3, that will be 5. 21 divided by 3, that will be 7. So 5/7 is our fraction in simplest form. Try this one on your own. You can pause this video now and try to find those factors of 14 and 28, and I will give you the solution later. If you think you're not ready, I am going to do this one now so you can practice more. So, 14 and 28, I'm finding factors of 14 and 28. So 1 and 14, remember that 1 and itself. 14 is even, so 2 will be a factor. Think of a number that multiplies 2, that will give you 14, so 2 times 7. Remember that these factors come in pairs. What about 3? 14 is not a multiple of 3. 4, 14 is not a multiple of 4. 5, 5 also no. What about 6? No, so 7. So 1, 2, and 7. I'm going to erase this to make my list more pretty. 1, 2, 7, and 14. Okay, what about 28? 1 and 28. 2, yes, because it's an even number. So 28 divided by 2, or 2 times what gives you 18? That will be 14. What about 3? 28 is not a multiple of 3. 4. 4, yes. 4 times 7. Remember that this, you have to find that pair, so 2 times 7. 5 is not a multiple. 6 will not be a factor either. And 7, I already have 7, so that will be my list. 1, 4, 7, 14, and 28. Okay, so remember, 1 is not useful. Now here we have several that we have in common. We have 2, we have 7, and we have 14. So you have several options. If you divide by the greatest common factor, that in this case is 14, you will finish faster this problem. You will just get your final solution. But some of us struggle with division. So dividing by 14 is going to be a difficult calculation, especially if you cannot use a calculator. So I suggest that if you struggle with division, try using a smaller factor, and then you simplify again and again until you get the final answer. If you feel confident dividing by 14, I suggest that you can try division by 14. But in this case, I'm going to try 7. I know the multiples of 7, so I think I can divide these two numbers by 7. Some of you might not know the multiples of 7 and you think it's a difficult number, so you can also start with 2. Dividing by 2 is easy, just doing half of a number. But I'm going to start with 7. 14 divided by 7, that will be 2. 28 divided by 7, that will be 4. And as you can see, this fraction still is not in simplest form because I can still divide these two numbers by 2 because both are even. So that's what I'm going to do now. Because remember that you need to simplify it at the most. So I keep simplifying. 2 divided by 2, that will be 1. 4 divided by 2, that will be 2. So this will be my final answer. If since the beginning you started with 14, at the end we must have the same answer. So 1/2 will be your solution. Try this one on your own. Pause this video now, find the factors of 32 and 44, and try to simplify. If you think you're not ready, continue playing this video and I will give you the solution. So 32 and 44, we need to find those multiples. So I'm making my list. So I'm doing 1 and 32 for sure. 2 is also a factor because 32 is even. So 2 times 16, that will be another factor. 3, that will not be a factor. 32 is not a multiple of 3. But 4 is. 4 times 8. 4 times 8, 5 is not a multiple. 6 is not a multiple, 7 is not a multiple, so I think I'm done. This will be my list of factors of 32. What about 44? So we have 1 and 44 for sure. It's an even number, so 2 and 22. 44 is not a multiple of 3. 4 is 4 times 11. 5, I don't think 5 is a factor. 6, no, 44 is not divisible by 6. 7, 8 will not be a factor either. So I think we're done. I think that these will be all the factors of 44. So remember, 1 is useless. You can cross out 1. So we have several factors in common. We have 2. We have 4. I think that's it, right? 2 and 4. Okay, so we have 2 and 4. So this 4 is the greatest common factor. But some of us struggle with our multiples. So maybe for you it's going to be difficult to divide 32 and 44 by 4. Dividing by 2 is easy because you're just doing half of a number. So you can start with the factor that is easier for you. So I will start with factor 2. I know how to divide by 2. I like doing calculations easily, so for me dividing by 2 is easy. 32 divided by 2 is 16. Half of 32 is 16, and half of 44 is 22. But you can see that both are even. That means that you can still simplify. So I will continue by 2. I'm going to keep going by 2. Remember that you're just doing half of the number. 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 22 divided by 2 is 11. 11 is a prime number. That means that I cannot divide 11 by any other number. Well, you can divide it by 1 and by 11, but you're not making it simpler. So this will be my final answer. If you decide to start your simplification with the greatest common factor, that in this case is 4, at the end, we will get the same answer. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel. If you want any objective, if you want a video of another topic, don't forget to send me a DM or follow me on my other social media, Instagram and Twitter, @NumeritosTV, and you can suggest any other objective. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.